Good morning, my dear students. Today we are here to discuss the first chapter from the first flight, that is A Letter to God. It is a beautiful story written by a great Mexican novelist, G L Fuentes, the man who is said to be a great chronicler of Mexican Revolution, which started in 1910, and then the dictatorship was thrown off and the rule of the constitution was restored. Mexico became a republic. The constitution came into force in 1917. And the man himself, the writer G L Fuentes, was born on 17th of November 1897, and he died on 10th of December 1966. He was not a man of fortune in his childhood. He used to sit at his father's general store, the grocery store, and there he used to watch a lot of laborers or the poor people which used to come from the areas around, and they used to discuss a lot of things about the revolution and the kind of impact it was having upon their lives. And being a very keen listener, he used to just gather all the information that he needed to write about. And at the age of 15 he started writing, and so many books he produced, but the topic was largely the civil conflict and its impact upon the society. The stories were very interesting, were very humorous, and he is supposed to be a realist because his fictitious stories even has a big touch of reality. He describes whatever he has seen in the society around him. And this is about the writer. When we discuss the theme of the the story is beautiful. It is about a farmer, poor farmer Lencho, who has unquestionable faith in God, and when his crops are devastated because of a hailstone, he decides to seek help from God, and for that he writes a beautifully crafted letter seeking help from him. And when the post office employees read the letter, they decide to help him out. They collect certain amount of money, more than half the amount he had asked for, and they put it in an envelope. And when Lencho the next morning receives the envelope, his reaction is watchworthy. So we will discuss it in detail in the story. And now let us talk about the plot of the story. It's about a poor farmer Lencho who lives on the top of a hill, and that hill overlooks all his fields that are spread around. And this is a very good harvest season. The crops have come beautifully, and they just need a shower. And Lencho shares this thing with his wife, that just one shower and they'll be reaping a fortune this year. And luckily, God listens to him. Somehow the clouds gather in the sky, it starts raining. To see the raindrops, Lencho is elated. He says that the small raindrops are 5 pesos, and the big raindrops are 10 pesos. But soon, his happiness is short lived. Soon, winds start blowing very hard, and in place of raindrops, it starts raining hailstones. It does not it does not last for a short time. It goes for almost around an hour, and Lencho is devastated. All his crops are destroyed. He is completely hopeless. Nobody can console him because he has lost everything. He has nothing to feed his family. He has nothing to sow the fields for the next season. And he shares this with his family. He is very sorry and very sad. But the family has learned how to have faith in an unseen power that we call God. So the family says to each other, they say to each other that God will take care of them. And after much thinking, Lencho decides to write a letter to God. So he sits down and thinks a lot, then starts writing. and he writes, "Dear God, this year because of the hailstone, we have lost the entire crops, and we need your help to sustain ourselves this year. And 100 pesos will definitely do. That will be enough to sustain me and my family throughout the year, and have enough to sow the fields for the next season." And thus with the letter, and he goes to the post office, puts that letter in an envelope into an envelope, and just puts it in the mailbox. After some time, when he is gone and the post office employee, the postman, comes out to take the letters out of the mailbox, he sees this unique address on the prescription of Lencho's envelope. It is written, "To God." He bursts into laughter, uncontrollable laughter, and he runs with that unique letter to his boss, the postmaster. The postmaster too starts laughing to see that letter addressed to God, but he gets suddenly silent. Lencho's deep faith in God deeply strikes him, and he somewhere secretly envies that amount of faith which Lencho has shown in the letter, for that unseen power. And he starts thinking. He gets serious, and he reaches at a very critical decision, the decision to help him out of the problem, the situation, to protect his faith in God, because in his eyes Lencho is a very sweet and innocent person. So he talks to his colleagues, his relatives, his friends, donates a part of his own salary, collects money from his people, from his friends and colleagues, and is able to collect 70 pesos. He puts all that money in an envelope, and when next morning Lencho comes to the post office expecting a reply from God, such a sound faith he has in God, that letter is handed over to him. Lencho goes to a corner of the office, and he is not at all surprised because he has deep faith. So he goes, opens the envelope, takes the letter out, and starts reading it. The post office employees very curiously from behind the office wall keep watching very keenly what his reactions are, and his face starts changing. The expression, from relief, it goes to anger, consternation, and he silently finishes the letter, puts it back in the envelope. He goes back to the counter of the post office and asks for a piece of paper, sits down at a desk in the corner and starts writing. And he writes, "Dear God, it was so kind of you to have sent me 100 pesos. It was a great gesture, but these post office employees, they are a bunch of crooks. They have taken 30 pesos out. Without these 30 pesos, it will be difficult for me to survive throughout the year and to sow my fields again. So please do send me those remaining 30 pesos, but please don't send that money to me through these post office employees." He finishes that letter, and again he puts it into that envelope and writes on the top, "To God," and posts it in the mailbox. The moment Lencho is away with the money, out of curiosity, they run to the mailbox, open the box, and take out that letter and start reading. You can imagine the reaction on their faces on reading the content of the letter. This is the whole story. Now, let us discuss the moral of the story. There are two things that we get from the story. The first one is, it is very good to have the unquestionable faith in something, and especially in that unseen power that we call God. It is a blessing. But with it, there should be a feeling of gratitude for what you are given. Lencho somehow gets 70 pesos in return, and he wanted 100. So he should have been grateful for that, even though 70 pesos. But that feeling of gratitude is not there, and it creates a feeling of discomfort in many people, especially those who tried their best to help him out. Second thing is that the postmaster is a very good man and he does a very good act of kindness. At the same time, he should have learned that if you do something good for the people, for the society, out of your own good nature, you should not expect anything in return. The postmaster expects a feeling of gratitude from Lencho, and when he does not receive it, he feels terrible. He must have felt sad. So these are the two lessons that we receive from this story. Now let us discuss the major characters. The first major character is obviously Lencho, a poor farmer. Though he is very poor and he is a simple farmer, he also knows how to read and write, and that helps him craft that letter to send his demands to God, and that creates the whole story. And he also has unshakable faith in God. That is a very good thing, but with that faith must be accompanied by a feeling of gratitude too for whatever you receive. And the whole story revolves around this thing. And second major character is the postmaster. He does a very good thing. He decides to help Lencho out. He collects the money with his own huge effort from his colleagues, friends, relatives, and donates a part of his own salary too. But he expects things in return from Lencho. He thinks that if Lencho is helped that way, he should feel grateful to those who have helped him. But when he does not receive that, he also becomes sad. So he's a merciful man, good, kind-natured, simple, helpful. He takes that pain to collect money from so many sources and give it to Lencho to protect his faith in God, but he must also not expect anything in return. So that is the whole story, and thank you very much. Your questions and assignments will be sent to you later.